Renee Capimano will be joining us shortly. Today's topic is 4 schoolrooms for 4 different kinds of homeschooling and 4 very different budgets. I think you're going to enjoy just contrasting these and to kind of figure out like what is it that you're looking for. The thing they all have in common though are the things that, in my opinion, are, if you can possibly do it, are really central to having a schoolroom that will, serve your family well. And the first thing I'm going to say might surprise you, but is good lighting. Really good lighting is a problem. For it's very different if you're in a room, just living in it versus and trying to be working in it, for most of your day. So besides good lighting, where exactly will the children sit? Will instruction happen? Where will supplies go? So here we go now. So this is the first schoolroom, and I'm going to call this the disappearing schoolroom. So this charming Cape Cod, New England style house is, just so precious, but the rooms aren't as big as they are in some places, and the kitchen does not have a place for people to sit down and eat. So if you find yourself that the dining room or the kitchen is the table in the house, one problem becomes, if you're trying to school at that table and you're also trying to eat at that table, it can be really hard to figure out what to do. So an easy solution is desks. And so on the side here, you can see that there are 2 desks of 2 different sizes, and we'll get back to them later. But the thing about desks, besides the fact that they're very comfortable for children if they fit them right, because they can have their feet on the ground, they can have their hands just right at the right place for writing. And there's a reason that schools change desks around, but it's not for everybody. But the thing about this is that then the table can still be used for instruction for both of the older children, but they can easily be moved over to the desk area, and it can be set up for dinner at any time. There's always that option that the kids can be at their desks. So the reason this is called the disappearing schoolroom is because everything that's part of the school situation can very quickly be moved and changed. So let's start with the wall. So on the wall, if it's a school day, you can see that there's the 4th of July and Flag Day writing and artwork that can, it's so great to have that out as part of a schoolroom. But if you want to convert it back to a public space or the dining room space, all that has to happen is that this large print goes on top of it. On the other side of the wall, another large print just comes off. The prints can go into the closet, and it gets swapped out for the schoolroom bulletin board. And you can see that, the key things for the day are here. The sum of the day, the word of the day, a chart, the calendar, everything that that you might want to have, basic things are right there. The same thing happens with the whiteboard. Rather than screwing a very large whiteboard to the wall, which many of us are going to choose to do, this whiteboard can easily be taken off of the mantle. It can go onto the table, and so both parent and child could work together easily writing on this whiteboard. But the whiteboard also can very easily go into the closet. You put the flags back, and it's back to the dining room wall. So even in the corner here, you can see that where the china is can be moved up, and there's 2 different shelves for 2 different sizes of children, so that they can each have set up a math center or science center when it's their time. And then that can be easily taken away and the dishes go back. Underneath here is a great spot for teacher's manuals or extra items that might be needed for teaching. Because that isn't a huge area, what can work really well is a chest. So you can see that right outside the dining room, there is a chest that can be used really easily to put in manipulatives and any additional stuff that's needed to keep that really neat. It's not necessary to have all these big shelves with containers out there, although many of us are going to like this. I really like this way to look at this in a really understated way, where everything can just go back to being the dining room. If you look up, you'll see that there's a chandelier in here. And so what was part of the budget for this family was to spend some money on making the chandelier get brighter. So with changing the wiring a little so that it could accept stronger bulbs so that when the dimmer dims, it actually gets very bright or much less bright. This can become something that's multi-purpose. It can still have that ambience of dining room, but it can become extremely bright, as you can see in this picture, so that people can do their work too. Over on the side, you'll see the 2 desks. So we'll go back to those desks. These desks are Zuma desk. I had these desks for similar desks for many years for my children. They come in a lot of different colors, and one thing about them that I love, of course, is they're made in the USA. So they're made in Arkansas and California, and they're very reasonably priced. And you can see from these holes on the side that with an Allen wrench, they can go from very small to very big. So they can start with, you know, a preschooler and go up, well, depending on how tall your child is, you know, they may fit them all through high school. And all you do is change the chair. So you can see in this picture that, you know, the chairs are very different. So, you know, if you just start off with one child homeschooling and one chair, you can just keep buying a bigger chair and another desk, if you will. This particular desk, of course, I'm just really fond of them, obviously. But if you can see that the desk itself is wide enough that in this picture you can spread out and be doing draw and write. It's a favorite supplemental curriculum of mine. And you know, it's big enough that lots of things can go on at the same time. It's big enough that you can be doing math and triples and a number of things. So if you decide to get a side desk, one thing you might really want to look at is the measurement of how big it is, because sometimes you'll see desks that are really pretty small. And if that's that's the only thing that fits in your house, then you know that's great. But this particular dining room is actually almost 14 by 15. So we're looking at a space that can still easily fit a very nice dining room table. You can still have lots of space for those 2 desks and some space for if you have a younger child or a toddler to run around. And something to think about is with good use of baby gates. If you want to, you can keep your younger children, you know, close to you while you're homeschooling, so you can be sure you know what's going on. Or if you watched our scheduling, you can see that there's much more complicated ways to work if you have a younger child that you want to work in. So this disappearing schoolroom only costs $500, and here's how. Each Zuma desk and chair set costs a little over $150. Then you can see here that small whiteboard was not very expensive from Staples. The cork board is bought at a garage sale and painted red for pretty inexpensive amount. And you can see here that also the change in the lighting. All of these things come in at under $500. And again, you could have done that for less if what you wanted to do was look around and find things like this for, you know, at garage sales or less expensive desks. But it just gives you an idea that even new, you can find products to have a really nice, effective schoolroom for not very much money. And by the way, these desks are very sturdy, but still lightweight enough that it's not hard to even carry the whole desk out and put in a child's room for the weekend, for example, if you really didn't even want the desk in there. Renee, what do you think?
Helen, this is a great idea. I love the idea of a disappearing schoolroom. Looking at the video of your schoolroom, go from schoolroom to dining room. It's like the James Bond of schoolrooms. And so many of us have this problem where our schoolroom also has to double for living space or for common areas for the family or for entertaining areas. So having and implementing some of these ideas to turn that back into living space so that you're not living in the schoolroom all the time. It's fantastic. It's really very clever. And I think these are some really great ideas. I also like your idea of checking out school supply stores to order your school furniture. It's much more affordable than you would think. And they do, you can go on and order yourself. You don't have to be a school. And we ordered a table with adjustable legs that grew with our children. We ordered the school chairs that matched. And I ordered those over 15 years ago, and we're still using them. So that investment that you make in that school furniture It's going to grow with your children if you can get it adjustable or go through multiple age children. It's really worth the investment that they're comfortable and they're stable while they're doing their schoolwork.
I agree completely, Renee. And so here we have a slide showing you some of the top places that people go to get school furniture. And again, I think it's really remarkably less money than people think. I think people just don't realize how going through these school suppliers can be much less than you think, and yet you can get really great, strong furniture. A lot of it is made in America. Just one little last tip is if you do find yourself ordering some small quantity or in some way that you pick a place that will not ship to your house, one thing people often do is have it shipped to someone's place of work, or if you know a church that will let you ship it to them, sometimes you can do things like that to get around it. And besides the school furniture, if you're looking for a really large whiteboard like you've seen in, for example, my early videos, like getting started, and you can see that I have giant whiteboards that we purchased and then actually screwed in the wall. These are also available on school supply sites. That's where you can get them for considerably less money than you would think. And just one little tip about whiteboards is you might really read about whiteboards how some of them are going to stay white longer than others versus some will stay marked up. So you might want to think about that. But here we go into our next schoolroom. And this schoolroom is showing you what a schoolroom looks like or could look like when you have a family that is doing a lot of their school online. So you can see that if you look in the schoolroom, that it's really set up very differently. There's not a clear place where a parent as a teacher is writing a lot of information, but you can see that there's two computers, and a lot of kids do much of their school online. So even though Renee and I that's not how we homeschooled, certainly there's a number of people that do this. And so this room really is set up like this. If you do a lot of your schoolwork at homeschool groups or online, it may be that the most important thing is just this big space where the computers are sort of the key thing. So there's the computer space, or there's space that each child could move and have a big area to do art projects, to do science projects, or to be doing actual work, writing in the book. So there's lots of space here for just spreading out. In this particular situation, the dining room is very near there. So if the parent wanted to move into the dining room and actually teach something, they could. But again, this doesn't, some people that's at a minimum. And this kind of situation still does allow, with these big open spaces on the side, that a parent can slide in with a child and be doing work at this particular sort of counter. And you can look at the side here and you can see how basically just attached to the wall are these sort of big brackets, and it's just like a big counter shelf. This has got the basics for older kids. It's got a huge map. Looks like in the corner, a small whiteboard for just basic information, or like this is when the doctor's office is today. This is when this class and that class is. It's just doesn't need to be very big for that. Looks like a shell collection, maybe for a science project, maybe just for fun. And on this particular schoolroom, the wallpaper, the grass wallpaper, is actually all like a bulletin board. So you can see that things can be stuck on there just anywhere that is interesting to kids. And so you can see that there's just a few posters up here that are specific to kids that are enthusiastic about science. It's got printers, some flashcards for vocabulary, but just whatever you want. If you put up that kind of bulletin board, then it can become a bulletin board. So this particular room at one time was a study. So there's a huge number of shelves that are on one side, and so these two shelves there's just two shelf areas where kids can put their books. This is where their books go. They don't have the actual desk area that the books go, but the books can just go on the shelf. In this particular situation, with everything spread up, most of the time books can just stay out all the time, on the side. But if you wanted to, they can just be put away on the side here. If you look up here, you'll see that because this is apparently this is a pretty dark room, this family put a lot of lights up on the ceiling. So there's many can lights there, as well as 2 lights to go on the actual counters. Renee, what do you think?
This is a great room, and I think, like you said, for students who are doing online classes, having that designated area where the computers are permanently set up, you as the parent can be in and out of there, seeing what they're doing, seeing what's going on the computer. I love the storage space. I love the sort of tabletop that goes around that you can use for those projects. The kids can spread out. And what I really, really love about this schoolroom is that that wallpaper that doubles as a bulletin board, that you're not worried about ruining your walls, because there's so many things to hang up. They can hang up their reminders, projects they're working on, calendars. It's really a great idea. This is a really well set up schoolroom.
Here we have a school at home school room, if you will. And so if you've seen my earlier videos of getting started, I went out like this this was my first thought too with homeschooling is, I want to have everything up on the wall. So here we've got this beautiful orange color. We've got all kinds of things going on the walls. We have these fun, all 3 maps of New York, and great. I love how behind the teacher desk, there's all those great posters about phonics. So as the reading is going on, it's really easy to just point behind there at the particular sound and say, hey, here's the R-controlled vowels. Do you recognize this? Now, this is a desk style that is beloved by many homeschoolers. And I actually, with my younger kids, I had a desk a little bit like this too. And so you can see that the teacher you, the parent, the teacher, whatever, can kind of squeeze into the middle. And so if you have several children, even if you just have 3 children, you can still be close to each of the children. If you have just a rectangle desk, it's hard to have the same feeling if you have more than 2 at a desk. But this way, if you have this cutout, you can really scoot in close. You can really help each of the 3 or more children that you have there. And again, this is something that you can purchase for much less than you probably think at one of the online school supply stores. And at the end of this little part, I'll show you the price list of that. You can see that even though this room is actually 11.5 by 14, lots of stuff can still be happening in this. It was originally a bedroom, and it's got a closet. And one great thing about having a homeschool room in a bedroom is you do have that closet space to put in shelves and put in whatever you want for your overflow stuff. You can see that in this room, there's an older shelf that was just repainted. Again, you can find shelves everywhere that if you paint in a fun way, you can save money. And you can see that this is set up to hold the variety of hands-on stuff, some books, art supplies. I love this idea of color coding the pencil sharpeners and the staplers and the scissors, because in this case, all of this extra stuff is separate. You might have noticed back in the disappearing schoolroom that each person had their own sort of place that little plastic container with the things just for them. This is a different idea where all this extra stuff is just stored together. Now in this particular schoolroom where everyone puts their books, because it's not a desk, so you have to think about, where will these things go, is in this small nightstand. So each drawer of the nightstand can hold books for each child. So you can see, pulling out here, oh wow, learning Chinese. You can see how, most or all, looks like all probably, of books can go neatly away in that one drawer as each child can go get their things that they need from that drawer. And you can see how on top of this little chest, a little reading center can be set up. Like, making the most of the small space here is great. So obviously a center studying about China, so books that are there for their time for reading, or for free reading time, are just all set up there so charmingly. And over here we have a science table. You can see that they're doing some vertical centers. This is a great example of how it might look for children of different ages at the same space. So rather than using trays or boxes, as Renee and I have talked about, this is the idea of there's a table center. So this whole table is set up for some biology centers of the day. And so this vertical center, you can see some kind of stickers on there. Maybe the younger children could do the sticker thing, but for an older child, there's set up a model of animal cell. There's really beautifully advanced books, but you can see also there's books at different levels. And so this is an idea of how by having things at different levels, different ages of children can come to this spot and have what works for them, what is speaking to them, what's at their level at that time, which is just really well done. So, a younger child might do a coloring thing and the model, but an older child might be comparing the model to actual textbooks and have a really different experience with it. In this schoolroom, if you look over to the side, the whiteboard is actually set up as a math spot. So some people will choose to have their whiteboard just at a table for math. So you can see that it would be possible for both the child and the parent to work on this whiteboard, or there's a hook up there that maybe you could hang up the whiteboard to if you wanted to. But there's a space specifically for your math. So there seems to be a science spot, a math spot, and then a spot for the all the other work. For this particular schoolroom, when you have a table like this, probably a lot of work would be done at the table with the parent, and the parent might move to the other table, or it could be that different children can be in different spots. Again, if you think about the size of this room, a lot of things are happening here, right? There's all kinds of great vertical centers. It's beautifully colorful, and this schoolroom is set up in a way that a lot can go on in this small space. And this is kind of that idea of school at home, where you decide to pick sort of a theme, an idea, and walls where this is a schoolroom. This is just a schoolroom. It's not a bedroom anymore, but when you walk in that room, this is the schoolroom, and you can shut that door if you want to. Renee.
Helen, this room has some really great ideas in it. And if you do have the space and you can have a designated schoolroom like this, even it doesn't have to be a huge room. You see how well appointed all of the features in this room are and how well they function. And I like some of your ideas. And when we put all of these things together, when you're talking about the light, when you're talking about the bright, happy colors and the things you're putting in there, the furniture fitting to the size of the student, your student's going to be in this schoolroom for big chunks of the day, and you want a room that's conducive to learning. And when we look at this room with the bright colors and all of the centers and the different areas going on, we can really see how a child is going to be engaged and interested in learning in this schoolroom. And this particular room is really made with such great function. And I love the idea, if you have the space and you can just close the door and school's over, that's a great idea if you have that extra bedroom or that extra den or an extra space. Really a lot of great ideas in this room.
I agree, Renee, so much. Now, one thing you can see is in this room, there was originally not apparently overhead lighting, but by using two, lamps and putting in this room has fewer of those can lights than the other room, but just by adding 3 can lights, this room becomes also that well-lighted situation that you want. Moving on to our last schoolroom. This is a large schoolroom that may look slightly familiar to you, and this is a schoolroom set up for a very large family. And so sometimes people are wondering that, how would it work to have such a large family homeschooling together? And so I hope that this will give you an idea. So you can start off, and this was an old dining room table, and it becomes a great spot for older kids to either do computer work or, some people really like chess and artwork. There's space for, there's lots of space here for older children, or it can be big enough that many or all of the children could still gather around. And with the help of a rolling whiteboard, you just roll the whiteboard over there, and that becomes your space. But you can see looking around the room that there's other sort of main areas of function. So by having all of the stuffed chairs here, this room can function as a family room. This house also has a living room, but it can still function as a family room. There's not a ton of things on the wall. Normally there's family pictures. It's really designed that, while not a disappearing schoolroom, that it still stays a family space. It doesn't look as much like a schoolroom as people might imagine. The thing about TV in your schoolroom now is, if you're showing a short clip from YouTube about before you give a lecture, if you're showing part of a show on the Korean War, it can be really nice to have a setup like this where, again, you just move the rolling whiteboard over, you can write down dates or key things, and it can make it so that an area that could be just, recreational, can quickly also become a teaching moment. Obviously really keen on these rolling whiteboards, but there you can buy these everywhere. There's some that are made in the US, and there's some that aren't. Over here on this spot, you can see that younger children can be, have some space away from the older children. And you can see that there's 4 desks pushed together. Again, I love these Zuma desks. And you can get these where, you can let a child pick. So you could get them where the desk and the chair match, or you can mix match. But the other thing about having these kind of desks is, if everybody is in a mood of cohesion and joy, you can move them close together, and that can be a wonderful, warm experience. If you have a child that starts to be, poking the one child or moving the one child, you can easily just move the desk away a little bit. Or if it's a day when everybody wants to have quiet work, you can move the desks far apart, or you can move them together in a variety of different configurations that I think can be really useful. And here is a table. It looks like it's a game center day, and this is another idea of centers, that you have a day once a week or every other week where it's pretty open, and you say, okay, we're going to play math games for these 2 hours while your older siblings are working with the parent. And so this can be a really great space to do that. One day it might be science centers, one day it could be other thing. It could still have centers of boxes in there too. A table like that can be really multifunctional. And you can see there's one table over to the side that's set up permanently for computer work or desk work. And so you can see that having these different spaces can make it that many children can be working in the same room at the same time, and yet still have space from each other. It's also the case that you could set this up a lot differently, where the spaces were constantly changing from one thing to the other, or it could be that there's kind of assigned spots, like this table is where these children will mostly work, this table is where these children mostly will work. If you have the desks, obviously those desks have a lot of space, so those children all have a space to put what they need to put. The old china cabinet can easily be a spot where each of the older children can have a place to put their books if they would like. And again, that rolling whiteboard can move over to those desks where the younger children are. So it just moves, each spot can become the spot with the whiteboard. Inside of it, you can see that you can put all your teacher's manuals, you can put extra manipulatives of whatever kind you want in there as well. So this particular room has even like skylights and lights on the top of lights, so that it can have enough lighting. Renee, what do you think?
More great ideas, and I really love this idea of the large schoolroom. So many of us have to use make a space multi-purpose, and a family room is a great place to do that. They have a section of it or a portion of it set up as a school area, and I think this was done really well. I love that rolling whiteboard. You can move it to whatever area you need it in. It's stable, and it has so many uses, especially if you get one with the shelves on it, and you can have centers there. A lot of great ideas. Again, it's bright and roomy, good light. all of those key components that you're looking for wherever you set up your schoolroom and however you set it up. You want to keep those key things in mind. So many great ideas. We're all always looking for ideas on how we can set up our schoolroom, how we can manage this schoolroom within our house, where we're going to put it, how we're going to use that space, and how we're going to make it functional for our children to enjoy their learning experience.
Thanks, Renee. I think I forgot to mention that this room had a little reading spot too. But at any rate, I hope that you found some ideas that you could think of, whether it's a disappearing schoolroom, a schoolroom for a lot of computer time, school at home, schoolroom in a bedroom, or possibly making a double duty family room schoolroom. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you find the perfect situation for yourself, and have a great day. Look forward to seeing you again, hopefully on another one of our videos. If you liked our videos, it would be super fabulous if you would subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Thanks, bye-bye.